So a couple of weeks ago, I got an email from a TV show. I won't give it away yet because it's going to coming out soon. And this director, this researcher of this TV show said, "Rick, watch your videos. I'd love to get you involved in a little project because through lockdown in the middle of Wales, sorry, I'm telling this the wrong way. I'm going to tell the story of the golf course first. Okay. In an area called Rhayader, Rhayder, right slap bang in the middle of Wales. In the 1920s, there was a golf course built, a 9-hole golf course built on the side of a hill. And 40 years later, it shut down, right? And for most golf courses, that would be the end of the story.
Yeah.
They tried to build a golf course. It didn't work. It wasn't financially viable or whatever it was. It shut down 40 years later. Yeah. However, there's a number of twists in this story. The biggest twist is that the golf course, again, in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of Wales, on the side of a hill, one of the most, if not the most famous golf course designer in the whole of the world that's ever lived, designed that golf course. Now, this gentleman, Dr. Alister MacKenzie, has designed 50, 60 odd golf courses around the world. He's actually from Leeds here in the UK. Some of his biggest golf courses that he's done is like Cypress Point, Royal Melbourne, yes, and Augusta National Golf Club. That was in 1920 or 1934, was it?
Augusta was 1933. You almost forgot Bolton O'Links in 1924.
Well, you know what's the mad one? So I was looking at his list of golf courses designed, and it's staggering.
It's mad.
I so wish he was still alive because I feel like I'd do a 5-hour podcast with him because how did he design all these golf courses in such a short period of time?
It's ridiculous.
All different places around the globe when travel was so hard back then in the 1920s, 30s, etc. What I didn't know is I saw it on the list recently. So the golf course that I kind of semi-knocked about at when I was a junior member, a golf course called Regent's Park in Bolton. It was £25 to be a member there as a junior, right? And when I grew up, I actually collected golf balls off the driving range there when I was through college. I didn't realise that's the golf course he designed exactly after Augusta National, and it's his last golf course he's ever designed.
That is madness.
And it's just like a municipal in Bolton. So anyway, why this particular story was so interesting. So again, this golf course was shut 60 years ago.
Yep. Through
lockdown, there was a very passionate, very enthusiastic golfer by the name of Chris who wanted to quite simply rediscover this golf course. Like, he remembers it briefly when he was a very, very young boy riding a pony up on this hill. He remembered golf being played there. So over time, over research, he spoke to local residents, old residents. He's used the website. Is it Lost Links?
Lost Golf Links, I think it was called, the website.
It's a phenomenal website,
I went on
by
it.
the way. How good is it?
It's so cool.
So basically, through trial and error and 1,000 hours of hard work, cutting back the bracken that's on this hill, which is like really thick kind of gorse bushes.
It's weird,
it's not nice. Through trial and error, through research, he's managed to find all 9 original greens and all 9/18 original tees.
When you said at the start it's on the side of a hill, I think that is... That's what we thought, didn't we, when we got there? Like a bit of a hill. It's honest to God. And we'll put, if you're listening to this, watch the video version on YouTube. I got a couple of videos of you hitting some shots. We'll put a video over this bit now. It's literally like a mountain. You can't believe there was a golf course there. Never mind an Alister MacKenzie one. Yeah, and then you see it.
You're actually out there and you're actually hitting golf shots and you're starting to see now. And again, don't be under any illusion. This is not a golf course in any regards right now.
Yeah.
Like, it's very rustic. You know, this is a one-man band and a bunch of sheep that have maintained this golf course for the last...
The sheep literally do cut the grass.
Literally eat the grass to cut it. But what Chris has done is cut away all the bracken, all the really harsh foliage to open up these tees, and you can actually see tees that were designed by Alister MacKenzie. You can see fairways, you can see how holes were played, and you can see the greens. And again, Alister MacKenzie, if you don't know, was kind of famous for like a
tiered green.
And again, we speak with Minwoo Lee later in this podcast about the really famous 9th hole at Augusta National. Like, that's a perfect MacKenzie green where it's like tiered. And anyway, long story short, I actually ended up playing pretty much every hole in the golf course with him. Again, the greens you can't put on them. I actually had to put with like a 3-wood.
Well, that was very clever because the greens are like obviously kind of short, weird grass. So we had a real flag in it. It was like an inner tube, like a bicycle tyre, wasn't it? It was a bit weird. About the size of a foot golf hole. So have you ever seen the videos where Rick plays to a foot golf hole? Similar size to that. And basically, once your ball goes over that kind of line, it's classed as in this kind of hole, which is a great way of doing it because you couldn't put on them. No. So you were in like little 3-wood bumper runs and drivers. But what was mad, I think was it the 8th or 9th hole? I think it was the 8th. We hit some tee shots down. And although it's not a golf course, it kind of felt like a golf course. We were looking for balls, and you suddenly you go from being on a massive hill to being actually on a golf course. It was class.
It was absolutely unbelievable. So massive shout out to Chris. The TV show, well, I'll tell people it was the One Show. That's actual segment of the show is going to be out in the end of May because Chris has got a charity golf day. And again, if you want to play in it, I don't know if there's still spots left, and this is not a paid advert, whatever. I like supporting somebody who's so passionate about golf.
It was awesome.
And what's a fantastic story, he's had this now rediscovered for the last 2 years. He's played the golf course 4 or 5 times a week for 2 years. So he's played it like 200 times, whatever, in the last 2 years.
No, it was unreal, and I think maybe we might have to head back there one time, do an actual video.
How good was the scenery as well?
Phenomenal.
It really was. So there was 2 things that came out of it for me, is that, it's a shame when golf courses shut down. It's obviously sometimes they're not always financially viable, etc. But the other thing was how unbelievable Dr. Alister MacKenzie is.
Ridiculous.
Like, I almost can't get over it. I almost want to speak to a relative of his. I wonder if he has any grandchildren or great-grandchildren.
I think he lived in America towards the end of his life, though, so it might be based in the US, but I reckon we could find that. But I think what was mad about that as well, last thing on this, was when you go to like the old course of St Andrews or whatever, or I'm sure like Prestwick or somewhere where golf was really kind of started, you get the feel of the history, but equally the golf courses now, although they are similar in some ways, are so much more manicured, and even the things to use on them to maintain them, it's not quite like playing a golf course would have been 200 years ago or whatever. But when we were playing that golf course, or you were playing that golf course, I hit a couple of shots. Like, it kind of felt like what golf probably would have been like.
More authentic.
Maybe even longer ago than when that was built, like a few hundred years ago. The greens back when Tom Morris was playing wouldn't be like they are today, obviously. I bet that was a true reflection. Imagine playing there with hickory clubs and little feather balls.
Mad. And the other thing that was quite fascinating, because when we jumped out of the car, and I was like, is this for real? Is someone winding us up here? Is this like a you being framed moment? But then actually when we started seeing the golf course, but under the ground it was quite rocky, wasn't it? But some of the rocks almost acted as like natural hazards.
Yeah. There was no bunkers, just rocks.
It was phenomenal.
No, it was awesome.
Really enjoyed it.
Really good.